Hello everyone. This is Nammernan, and today we will be doing our final video on MWP 7. It has been a long tournament. It has been roughly 9-ish weeks of the most competitive monotype tournament at this time, and it has been a wild ride. We've seen many upsets, a lot of interesting teams brought. Just generally very good tournament to watch, but the finals have happened, and unfortunately, most of these matches, well actually the matches themselves aren't pre-watched, but I do know the results of all the matches. I will, however, be live reacting to what happens in these matches and the things that were brought. So, with that being said, I'm going to take one last little look at MWP 7's usage chart and just glaze over a couple of things. I'm not going to go look too far into it because we're going to do that later on in the video. But today we're just going to do, or right now, we're just going to look really quick at the usage stats. So, very unsurprising, Dragon and Steel were the top used types. Water, also the top used type. Flying was used a ton, and Dark was used a ton, and Fairy is also used quite a bit, actually matching with Dark, which Dark was supposed to be one of the types that was going to be seen quite a bit, but Fairy and Dark being at the same level is not something that you would actually expect, because a lot of people consider Dark to be one of the strongest types in the metagame. But as you can see from this usage, and even by the win rate, you can see that people were just ready to deal with it. So maybe it's not true? Who knows? But yeah, Fairy just did incredibly well in this tournament, and I did say at the beginning, before this tournament started, that Fairy should have been a very good meta pick, but somehow it was allowed to just do as well as it did. So yeah, Ground has actually done not as great as you would think that it would do, considering how many times it was brought, but the themes we saw were definitely very interesting, and I feel like Ground's entire metagame has been interesting. Fighting got brought quite a bit, but it was just kind of mid. Ghost did surprisingly well as well, despite how low it was used, but it generally is powerful. We'll talk more about those two types later. Fire, unsuspectingly, was Giga prepped for this tournament and did not do the numbers that you would think. Bug did surprisingly well this tournament as well. Rock actually did pretty decently. Electric, unfortunately, never gained a win despite the recent metagame's shifts with it. Normal and Poison both did alright, and Grass and Psychic were at least used. Ice, still the only type that was never used in this tournament, though. But yeah, these types, the way these types are roughly almost what I expected. I definitely didn't expect, well, I did expect Fairy to be used a lot more, but at the time when I said that, I only said that because I thought Fairy was just a very good type into the meta types and not really a meta type itself. But after seeing how it was used in this tournament, it kind of operated as a meta type, to be completely honest. Because if you see, its usage isn't too far off from metagame staples like Flying and Dark. So it actually was kind of something that maybe people didn't prep enough for, or people did prep before, but I don't know. Things just happened with Fairy, and I was very surprised at how well it did. That was very shocking. Even though I did say it was good, I did not expect it to do this well, because this is insanely good. It's the highest win rate in the entire tournament, even with the edge case types. It's still the highest win rate in the entire tournament with this many games. Very impressive. But yeah, and Water, Steel, Dragon, Flying, those were expected to be at the top, and these were expected to be here. Ghost also expected to be here roughly. Fire was expected to be a little bit higher in usage, but unfortunately it did not get used that much, or maybe fortunately, because a lot of people do not like dealing with fire. But Bug seeing a little more use than I thought it would, considering how it is typically, but yeah. The lesser common use types are not shocking. Very sad that Ice never got to get used though, but I guess that just speaks to the state of the type. With that being said though, let's move on to the final matches of MWP 7. So, we have Twinkie versus Rio Vidal. Rio Vidal is using a Ghost team, and Twinkie is opting for a double Steel Bird Salamence team, interestingly enough. Now, I'm not sure what Salamence is going to do in this match, But if I had to guess, it's either going to take advantage of... If he's deciding to use it over Dragonite, it can only be one of two things. It could be the fact that Salamence learns Wish, and it could be a defensive set with Intimidate, or it's going to be something else. It's going to be a faster version of Dragonite that hits... I think it hits a little less hard, but it does have snowball potential with Moxie, so... Yeah, those are one of the two options. I'm not sure which one it is, to be completely honest, just by looking at the team. If I had to guess, I think it's the offensive sweeper, but I'm not 100% sure. So, and yeah, on the side of Vidal, it's a very expected ghost team, with Pekarunt being like the lesser used mon, I would say. But yeah. Let's take a look at this game and see how it goes. So, we immediately start off with Gliscor. Gliscor instantly just getting that Protect off, getting ready to use it. Not trying to play games with the Toxic Orb. Hex is immediately used, bringing down Gliscor's health to quite a bit. As we see the removal of leftovers from Vidal's Dragapult. Gliscor is still taking those hexes, as it does get the KO on Dragapult, which is very nice. For Twin K's team, no longer has to worry about the annoyance that Dragapult can put on the team, especially since it is a utility set. We see the double switch into Corviknight, allowing it to take a Moonblast very well from Fluttermane. The U-turn comes through, and we see Moltres Galar come in. Moltres is a massive threat to this team. Ooh, and the Malignant Chain doesn't break the substitute, so Moltres Galar actually going to do quite a bit of work here. Because Dragapult is gone, so it can no longer use Infiltrator to KO it behind Substitute. The Fiery Wrath will do very little damage though because of the Parting Shot drops. As we see the Moltres Galar get pivoted out and Ceruledge comes in as a response. Sword Stance is used as Twin K goes for the U-turn to break the Sash. However, Vidal does go for the Sword Stance instead of going on the offensive immediately. We do see the Intimidate, so is it a defensive set? Let's see. It was heavy duty boots, so it's possible it was a defensive set, but it did just get sacked and do nothing. So we don't know for sure what was on the Salamence set, but it did allow us to get the Skarmory in and Whirlwind out the Ceruledge. As a Spike goes down, here comes the Spectrier, but Spectrier can't really do much into the Moltres, as Moltres goes for another Fiery Wrath, doing a decent amount of damage to Fluttermane. We're going to see another Corviknight switch in to take the Moonblast, but the Thunder Wave comes out on Fluttermane instead. This could be a massive issue for Corviknight if there's enough stuns done. And a reminder, Poison Puppeteer does not work unless Pekarunt itself is the poisoner of the Mon. So Gliscor is going to be fine here, as the Shadow Ball does come through on Pekarunt. Also, didn't really talk much about that block of Parting Shot, but that block of Parting Shot with Protect was very good by Twinkie. Very well played. As the other Parting Shot will go through, but the Heavy Duty Boots will be removed as a response. Rapid Spin coming through on the side of Vidal, and it's Poltergeist. Or, that's not Poltergeist, Brambleghast. As second Rapid Spin is successful in getting rid of the spikes. Twinkie just opting to fully set up in front of this Mon's face, as it is not trying to play. Twinkie is trying not to play games with Strength Sap, assumedly, as we do get the full Oko on the Brambleghast. Gliscor is swapped out for Moltres Galar, as Moltres Galar is easily able to take that Hex. Nasty Plot is used, as we see the Agility come through. Now Vidal is in a very, very dangerous spot here. If there's a flinch, this is a game over. But there is no flinch. We do get the Berserk boost though, and that will be enough. That will be enough to KO, and I believe that will be enough to sweep the entire team as well, since the +2 should be able to. Oh, never mind. I guess the +2 was not enough to outspeed the Fluttermane. I guess Twinkie may be respecting the potential for it to be choice. I actually was not paying attention to the damage that Fluttermane was doing this game, so I'm not sure if it is Choice Specs or Choice Scarf. But we do see Fluttermane get forced out by Corviknight, as we see Gliscor come in once again. Rivendell trying to catch out a possible Protect, but Twinkie will call it out immediately and get the Earthquake off, and that will be the game. And right there was a very good showcase of Moltres Galar and its talents. Ghost, even though it is still a very big threat to Twinkie's team, Moltres Galar was the mon that was needed to make sure this matchup was playable, because if it was a far more standard flying team, it would have been a little bit more difficult for Twinkie to operate and move around the Fluttermane and also deal with the hazard, or not hazard spam, but the status spam and Spectrier combo that Rivendell's team had. So very nice building by Twinkie's team, and we'll move on to the next match. Tari 25 versus Ziri. And we see Fairy versus a Ghost team. Two Ghost teams in the finals. Very interesting. But yeah, we're gonna see a Hisuian Zoroark game. Will there be mind games? We'll see, we'll see. On the side of Ziri, though, it's still a double water and a Klefki with the usual suspects. So this should be a relatively standard game. Nothing too surprising should be brought here, but the Goldango set could be mysterious, so we will see how this goes. Alright, as we see the Brambleghast lead into Primarina, instantly forcing it out, as the Power Whip does go through. Reflect will be used by Ziri's Klefki, as we confirm the Light Clay on it. Thunderwave does come through, as Tari is relentless in their constant uses of Poltergeist. We do see the Specs confirmation on Primarina, as the Sparkling Aria does come out, and Brambleghast takes it and puts down some spikes. Sparkling Aria getting the KO onto Brambleghast, as the Thunderbolt. Reminder, Dragapult does not, well actually there was no light screen up, but even if there was a light screen up, Dragapult's Infiltrator would have stopped it. So Cerulege gets its balloon popped and its special defense lowered by Ziri's Fluttermane, as Ziri does pivot into the Azumarill, taking the Poltergeist, as that will lead to Azumarill living on 1 HP and getting the knockoff onto Tari's Cerulege, as Dragapult comes in to revenge kill and take very little damage from Azumarill's last-ditch effort Aqua Jet, as Klefki comes in and starts putting spikes down. We see the light screen come out as well, but Tari responds with a nasty plot, getting the Shadow Ball to get the KO on Klefki. Goldango with the Kasib Berry, using Make It Rain on the Fluttermane, and it will get the KO. Very unfortunate that Ziri ran into that in this specific matchup, but I think Goldango should have the game here, as the next Make It Rain does KO through screens. Here comes Iron Valiant, but Iron Valiant does not have a ton of things to deal with the Goldango, as we do see the Sword Stance, and Goldango is able to get the sweep onto Tari, or onto Ziri's team. And just like that, another rare fairy loss, but Ghost is able to threaten Fairy. It's crazy. These are two very high win rate types in a metagame, and Ghost was the one to come out on top. More on how I feel about Ghost later, but we will talk about how powerful Tari's team just generally is. Like, look at the Pokemon on this team. We have powerful Fluttermane, Cerulege. Unfortunately, we didn't see Hisuian Zoroark do anything this game. There is a very good possibility that Ziri, while making turns, was thinking about the possibility of a Pokemon just being Hisuian Zoroark instead of what it was supposed to be. And as someone who has played against Hisuian Zoroark quite a bit, that can happen. Even if you think there is a real play that they should have made, there is still a chance that they could have possibly put in Hisuian Zoroark instead, and you could get messed up really badly by it. So Hisuian Zoroark's presence is still a decently small problem. Because Fluttermane, for example, has to be careful about spamming Shadow Ball against a Ghost team, because if it spams Shadow Ball against the wrong mon, or if it spams Shadow Ball on, let's say, Goldingo, that comes in at full HP, and Goldingo turns out to be Hisuian Zoroark, Fluttermane's in a horrible spot, because now Hisuian Zoroark gets to do whatever it wants to do against Zeri's team. So, yeah. That is definitely something that probably maybe ran through Zeri's mind, but regardless, very well played by Tare. And let's move on to the next match. We got Chaitanya versus Fusion. Chaitanya bringing Fairy. Finally bringing out the Fairy. We've seen Fairy, how many times? Like 3 times, I believe? No, it's only been 2 times, but yeah. Fairy coming out in the finals again. So that's 2 Fairy teams, and we see Fusion bringing out Water. I believe, was it Fusion that I said needed to bring a Water team, or was it Tare? I can't remember which one it was, but I will say that this Water team does not look very well equipped to deal with Fairy, due to it having 2 Fairy weak or actually 3 Fairy weak mons that are all going to be very big food for Fluttermane. And we also see the Clefable as well. That could also be a massive problem, as its defensive qualities just kind of stops the three of those mons from doing what they want to do. But Fusion's team does have the Hazard Stack combo, and it still does have those powerful breakers. But those powerful breakers are going to be a lot more reliant on their Water Stab, and Hydro Pump can be problematic for Keldeo specifically. So let's see how this match goes. Primarina is led, and Toxapex instantly taking a massive hit by Primarina's Specs Psychic, as the T-Spike will go down. I think it's Choice Specs Primarina anyway. But Iron Valiant does come in on the Toxic Spike, as we see a Samurott doubled in by Fusion. Swords Dance is used by Chaitanya, as Swampert comes out as a response. Fusion swaps into Keldeo, who takes a crit and will fall. Walking Wake now coming in to revenge kill, but Primarina does swap in. Hydro Steam is used, but does very little to Primarina, as it does take a little bit more damage from the Toxic Chip. Here comes the Boom Blast, doing a ton to Fusion's Primarina, and lowering the special attack crucially. Not sure if this is a speed tie or not, but Chaitanya will still get the KO onto Fusion's Primarina, as we see more Boom Blasts used onto Fusion's Swampert. Primarina going to get KO'd the next time it comes in, as Toxapex will recover its HP. Klefki likely going to get a Spike, yep, and we're going to see a Reflect. Ceaseless Edge coming out on the side of Fusion, as we do see a Spike come up, so I think Primarina is a choice item, so that probably means that Primarina can't come back in, since Chaitanya's team does not have hazard removal, but we do see Clefable using Boom Blast and Thunderbolt, and the Combine does come through. Clefable evidently is Magic Guard, so it cannot take damage from the poison or the Toxic Spikes. Combine coming through again, as Toxapex is forced to deal with it, and it can't deal with it forever due to those recover nerfs. So we are going to see Swampert come out as Fusion. Chaitanya does get the KO with a Moonblast. Clefable, and yeah, there it is. Fusion recognizes that the team is just going to get brutally walloped by Chaitanya's fairies, and that is that. Yeah, this is just another game showing the power of Fairy, and Fusion's team actually would have been pretty dangerous against many other different types, but not Fairy specifically. Fairy just very much has a good matchup into this type, not even just because the type matchup was, but Clefable as a mon just does very well into Fusion's team, because both of its walls are not going to want to deal with it, and most of its offensive Pokemon, not named Primarina, also don't want to deal with it, and Primarina doesn't even want to deal with it that much either, so Clefable was a very, very big pick here, and it put Fusion in a really bad spot. So yeah, that's that for this match. And now we'll move on to the final match, which is Mike Calder versus Vadum. As we see a fire team against the steel team. So this should be complete wraps for this side of Vadum, but unfortunately I know how this match ends, so I'm interested to see what happens in this game. Alright, so we see the Heatran lead into Vadum's Archaludon, as Heatran will immediately swap into Ogerpon Hearthflame. Ogerpon will pick up a free KO here, as it is Ogerpon Hearthflame. Archaludon will come out, as Ninetales is brought in and sets up that Sun. Thunder Wave will affect the Ninetales, as Heatran is brought in. Archaludon goes into Heatran, as we see the Power Gem pop Mike Calder's Balloon. Earth Power coming through, doing a lot of damage to Vadum's Heatran, as we do see the Protect stalling out a Sun turn. Gholdengo comes out. Hearthflame comes in. Is it Choice Scarf Gholdengo? No, we will not know, as the Ivy Cudgel does come through. It actually looks like Ninetales was not Heat Rock, which means that there are significantly less turns where Vadum is going to be super pressured by Calder's team. It's unfortunate 50-50 that had to be played there, but we do see Skarmory take a fat hit from Cinderace, as Vadum will sack the Skarmory. Here comes the Fireball hitting Archaludon, as Archaludon will get the Thunder Wave off onto Cinderace, which is going to be very, very annoying for Calder to deal with. The unfortunate high jump kick miss will very much turn the tide of this battle, as Volcarona will come in and take the body press from Archaludon and gets a crucial burn, severely weakening its body press against both Ogerpon and Heatran. We see Ogerpon come out as Vadum. We see a superpower come out from Calder, and that will get the KO on Heatran. As we see Gholdengo come out. Gholdengo trying to get the Thunder Wave on, and a crucial, yeah, that's very unfortunate. Ninetales will be getting KO'd because of that Thunder Paralysis, but Sarah Ledge will be full health and keep its sash intact. As we see a Sword Stance. Oh, don't tell me. Don't tell me he gets paralyzed here. Okay, Draco Meteor. Yeah, and I guess that's how they lose. Vadum misses his subsequent Draco Meteor, but Sarah Ledge gets paralyzed again. This is just one of the many reasons why I despise paralysis in this game. 3 times in a row, Calder could not move. And yeah, Sarah Ledge will just go down. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why I despise paralysis as a status ailment. Because Calder was essentially just frozen for that entire thing. But yeah, I think this actually should be GG. Since Calder cannot be in a bad spot after this, so yeah, there we go. And yeah, that'll be the match. Yeah, this got scarily close because of those insane hacks and paralysis being a pseudo freeze, but Calder was able to clutch up because Volcarona is a cool Mon. And yeah, that'll be it for the final matches. Not much to really speak about on Vadum, because what is he supposed to do? It's Steel versus Fire, Sunfire of all things, and Ogerpon Hearthflame is just an impressive Mon against that type, so especially when under Sun. And Mike Calder didn't even have Heat Rock, so he was dealing with an arguably easier to deal with version of Fire, and yeah. For Mike Calder's first ever match of SP, that was definitely a good showing, and that was unfortunately also kind of a monotype moment, but Vadum did try his best. But yeah, that'll be it for the games.